DC's barely reporting in for the night. We just got our brand new episodes of The Flash and Superman and Lois. They were both really great episodes, really well done, especially considering everything that's happened with The Flash over the last year. All the issues they had with filming during COVID, not being able to finish the season 6 the way they wanted to. And you can kind of really tell with the first episode, All's Well That Ends Wells, that this was really meant to be an episode that was from last season. There was a lot of things in this episode that made me wonder how long they were going to go for, maybe a time skip at the end of last season, if they were going to do that, especially with the opening scene with Barry waking up from a cryo sleep to ensure that his speed was not used up, to what's going on with Iris. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into that, and then we're going to switch on over to Superman and Lois. One of the things I absolutely loved about this episode, again, I just mentioned, was the way that they kind of focused on ways that Barry is keeping himself from using up the Speed Force that's left inside of him. And that was the having him undertake a cryo sleep. That way that his powers, his speed, isn't used up in his daily life. Because honestly, just thinking, as we've seen, uses up a lot of the Speed Force for him. So that was really very interesting. And exactly how they had the suit overtake him. I absolutely love that, because it is something straight out of the comics, where it looks like we are getting something a little bit different, because in the comics it is the Speed Force that generates that suit. This, because of what's going on with his Speed Force, I don't think that's what we had happen. It'd be interesting if it is, though, explained that it takes a minor amount of the Speed Force to do that, and that's exactly what happened. I feel like what we're getting is a slight kind of take on a nanotechnology to have that done. Another aspect of the show that I absolutely loved was the reintroduction of the original that we know, Mirror Master and Top. And they've kind of hated Scudder faced on this episode, where he did lose his life to Eva McCulloch. And we later found out in the episode that he might not have been the real Sam Scudder, that he was, if he was a real man, that he was a test subject that Eva conducted before she was placed into the Mirrorverse, or was he more of a mirror clone that Eva sent out after she had been placed in the Mirrorverse? That's going to be a really kind of interesting thing that we later find out down the line, because it's something I really would love to find out. Was he a clone? Was it the original character that was just experimented on? That's going to be really kind of interesting to find out. Another thing that we got is, all as well as it ends well. We got the Wells part of the story. And, having this character on the show for 7 years, we've had so many different versions of the character every season. We've had the original, who was really Zoom. We had HR, we had Nash recently. We had Sherlock. All of them have been really great characters, and to kind of see them all in one interpretation, seeing one after the other, as well as the council, that we got over the last 2 seasons, 2 or 3 seasons, honestly, has been kind of a lot of fun to have done in the episode. But this episode, it was more of a kind of sad feeling that I got with this, where I didn't really know what exactly was going to happen with this, and it was really kind of interesting to find that storyline kind of interacting and undergoing throughout the episode. This one, it was Nash kind of having to come to terms with what his fate was going to be, and exactly what his purpose after Crisis was, because you did have kind of the feeling that he was trying to find out what his purpose was. And for this one, it was sacrificing himself, um, as well as all of the Wells throughout the multiverse that was residing inside of him, um, to create a new Speed Force for Barry. So that was kind of really, it was really kind of sad, to see how he kind of fought that at the beginning and throughout the episode. Even going to the point where he had Allegra, who has been a daughter to him, as we learned on his own Earth, and then coming over onto this one, push those multiversal energies out of him, and what they were trying to put into the machine that they were using to create the Speed Force, and it failing, and them getting placed into Barry. And it was really interesting to see Barry seeing Grant's take on all of the different kind of Wells. That I absolutely loved. Seeing him a sure look, trying to pull off that French accent was really kind of funny. Him coming in, and I feel like one of my favorite parts was being Harry, being HR, which were characters that we all kind of fell in love with throughout the episodes and the seasons. And seeing that kind of progress was very interesting, and seeing the kind of impact that Barry's life and the Team Flash's life has had on these characters was kind of impactful. And seeing that they were willing to sacrifice themselves for Barry was incredibly impactful. At least to me. I don't know if it was the same for everybody, but I feel like I can speak for a lot of people when I do say that it was a very impactful moment. It was a very sad moment, when we got what happened later. But yeah, and getting what is essentially, possibly, we don't know, that there could be possibilities down the line where we could get another version of the character, but seeing what we assume to be the final episode with a Wells, somebody that we have had on the show for 7 years constantly, whether it's a brand new version of the character or we get a throwback to the past versions, it's always been there. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how the show progresses without having one. Will it be the show that we've had over the last few years, or are we getting something different? Are we gonna have Chester kind of taking over that position now that Cisco's coming back? Is Cisco gonna have that kind of Wells position on the team, and Chester's going to be taking over Cisco's position? These are all kind of things I look forward to seeing. And then we have, the whole Iris side of the storyline, which was very interesting as well. You kind of had that feeling throughout the last season, after she entered the Mirrorverse, that she was starting to lose her mind. And this episode really kind of focused on that. Was she losing it? Was her being in the Mirrorverse, was it kind of causing her to go insane? You were seeing her seeing past versions of her character throughout the series, and then you also had the future version of the character, where she saw herself as a bad mother because of everything that Nora had told her that had happened in her life, and to later find out that no, she's not going insane. She's actually on the right kind of path, to finding her way out, and she's honestly working towards that now. But she was on the right path to find her way out, and Eva was working against her. Eva was placing these hurdles in front of her, which was makes you wonder exactly how long that's been going on. If it's something that has been going on ever since she was placed in the Mirrorverse, or if it's something that's recently happened. So it kind of makes you wonder, is she going insane? Is she not? So it's going to be very interesting to see how that progresses until she finally can get out, because we do know she is getting out at some point. But yeah, having Barry back with the Speed Force at the end of the episode was a great moment to have. again, it was a very sad moment because of the underlying tones to exactly what caused him to have the Speed Force return to him. But seeing him have the Speed Force return to him, the eyes lighting up with the lightning, the electricity running through his body, and then running out, um, stopping the explosion on the plane, grabbing that bomb was a great scene. And then seeing him come back and seeing that scorch mark on the ground where Nash had been standing, that was again very impactful. And I absolutely loved the line that Allegra had. I believe it was Allegra at the end of the episode. That when Barry runs, it's almost like all of the Wells are going to be with him. I absolutely love that line. I loved that because I honestly have felt like that with people that I have lost in my life. So yeah, I absolutely loved that take on what exactly is happening with that character. Moving on to the Superman and Lois episode 2. I absolutely loved this episode. Again, I feel like this is one of the best takes that we have had on Superman in a good long while. And it will be kind of interesting to see how that progresses. Starting off, with everything that happened last episode, Jordan getting his powers, or seeming to get his powers, and move back to Smallville, having the show start with the moving everything out of Metropolis. But you're also getting the whole Captain Luthor storyline, which is very interesting. I'm very kind of invested into exactly what's happening with that and what the backstory behind that is, because we did get a backstory towards the end of the episode. The whole him searching for the kryptonite, him going to Moldova and other locations. And it is in Moldova where you do learn that Superman had a part to play in what he believes is the destruction of his planet, which we later find out he probably did. At least a version of Superman. I kind of have my suspicions of which version that is. But I really do kind of wonder exactly how correct his take on it is. I do feel like he's incredibly correct about it, but there's always something that's a little off about a Luthor. So I don't really know how much to take on his word with that one. Yeah, it was really very interesting. Kind of find out exactly what's going on with that. Then we get moved straight into Clark taking Jordan to what is the fortress on this new Earth, which I feel like has been a downgrade in some ways to what we've seen in the past. With the Smallville fortress, especially, that was just plain beautiful. The fortress that we had on Supergirl, it was a really well done fortress. I feel like they could have done a bit more with that. This one just seems like it's a bare bones with alien technology on the borders of holographics and everything like that, which I absolutely loved. I have been saying for a while they needed to do a holographic display of Jor-El, which I absolutely loved. His suit, the suit looked amazing that Jor-El was wearing. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this new fortress. I would like to see if it has more to it, or if it's just that one room. And then you also had Jonathan going to school, which, with everything happening this episode you do see that he is getting kind of the brunt of the torture from the boyfriend, and what is his now teammate. So that's going to be really kind of interesting to see how that kind of progresses. Is Jonathan going to be able to deal with all of this? Is he not going to be able to deal with this? How is he going to be able to handle the situation of moving? Because he does seem like he was kind of the big guy at his old high school. He had everything figured out. The girlfriend. He was the captain of the football team. his freshman year, made the starters, everything. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how he kind of adapts to everything that is going on in his life now in Smallville versus Metropolis. And we did kind of get that later in the episode. He kind of had like a blow up with Jordan. You did kind of feel like he was getting kind of jealous of the situation that he was having and exactly everything that happened with him because of the move. We also have the Morgan Edge, Lois Lane, Kyle side of the story, which I am absolutely loving. Kyle, in the first episode, he seemed like he really just had issues with Lois. This episode, you see, because he is on the city council, it might just be more along the lines of he is worried about the town, and he's trying to do everything he can to ensure that the town doesn't go under like a lot of other towns have. But I feel like he is going about it in the wrong way. He is kind of biased towards Edge because of everything that Edge can do for him. But I also kind of wonder, is he biased to him because it's somebody that Lois doesn't like? And by Lois, it's also Clark that doesn't like. And because of the past relationship with Lana and Clark, you really can't tell exactly what's going on in that situation. But I do like that later in the episode, he did kind of do his research and he knows exactly what's happened in other towns that Edge says he was helping. But then he kind of pushed it aside, saying it was the town's fault. So I feel like he's very kind of short-sighted on a lot of things, which would be interesting to see if his eyes do open later in the season, or not. So it's gonna be a really kind of interesting story that we get from that. Now moving back to Jordan, we did learn that according to Jor-El, he might not exactly have powers, or if he does have powers, it's going to be something he can never really control. It's going to be something that's going to be more sporadic with him. That's going to be interesting. Are we going to get more of like the Smallville take where it was like with Clark when he was just learning his powers, but he never really learns control? Or are we going to get that part to the season where he does finally prove Jor-El wrong, which I do feel like is going to happen. And it was really, I absolutely loved it that we learned that Jordan's name comes from Jor-El. He was named after Jor-El. That's going to be very interesting. It does make me wonder. I would have loved to see Jor-El's reaction, at least his AI's reaction, to having having Clark name his son after him. I feel like that would have been really kind of interesting and a lot of fun to have that kind of reaction. But unfortunately, it's not something we're going to get, at least not something we're going to get now. I'm hoping we do get a few flashbacks, like we did with the opening scene in the first episode, but I don't think that's going to be happening. But yeah, this episode was really very interesting. We are going to be getting a little bit more, I feel like, the whole Captain Luthor storyline with Sam Lane with that. And we are going to be getting a bit more of what I hope is answers to exactly what happened on Captain Luthor's planet, because I do feel like it is something that kind of had to do with Crisis. I don't really think it was the Crisis that we got. I feel like it was a few seasons back with the Book of Destiny being used, because it did look like it was that exact same suit. And this is me kind of just throwing one way out there. Do we get Superman Prime in it? It was the Superman Prime, our Superboy Prime, black and white suit. Which, if it's Prime, is Prime still out there? Is this a version of Superman that's just pure evil? Because I don't feel like it's Ultraman. Just because we did get the S symbol, we didn't get the Ultraman symbol on it. Or again, was this the Book of Destiny? Was this Dr. Destiny on his planet? taken over. That's gonna be interesting to find out. But other than that, I am looking forward to seeing what happens later on. I will be doing a slightly more in-depth review separately for both episodes down in a few days. But in the meantime, guys, have yourselves a great one if you can. Like and subscribe because I am doing much more videos. And have yourselves a great one.